All right, so we're joined from Washington, D.C., right in the DMV by my man, class of 2000, Madison Central graduate, Judah Clark, right there with the U.S. Coast Guard. We are in the government career cluster here, and we've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Rosa Scott, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you for joining us. I cannot believe it's been 24 years, and here you are with us here today.
It's been a while when you put numbers on it.
Oh, tell me about it. Now, before we get into what all it is you do in the Coast Guard, because I was explaining a little bit of it before we went online. Madison Central High School, and the joke was always you were originally from Canada, and then you came and you graduated with us, but you were involved in a lot in high school. We got a lot of ninth graders here that are watching this now and will see this later. And I think it's important that they understand they need to get involved with as much as possible. You were in choir with me. You were on the swim team. You were in all kind of student organizations. So talk about that high school experience and how that translated into you transitioning out of high school.
Oh boy. Um, yeah, I came right in the middle of high school. So I moved down to Canada, New York, and then down there. So it was, I had to kind of speed things up a little bit. I didn't know anyone. I was a junior, so I was already 11th grade, kind of behind the game of social interactions and getting to know people. And so I think a lot of myself jumping in was, yeah, to connect wherever I could, right? And I I loved just communicating with people and getting along with people. So I was part of campus life. I was part of in mornings. I was a part of yeah, you mentioned the swim team. Pretty much about halfway through, near the end of 11th grade, I realized, oh yeah, there was, I don't know, I just connected with so many people through sports, through um, I think some of the clubs. Boy, you're I'm scratching my brain with all the any other extracurriculars I did. But I think the biggest thing for me to was being myself and allowing myself to just not be so worried about like what I looked like and just get to know people for who they are. And it wasn't an intentional thought that I did that, but that was just kind of a part of I just wanted to get to know people. And so for me, um, being diversifying a little bit, I guess. Not that I used that word when I was 16, 17, but allowing myself to just be friends with anybody, and then yeah, let's go do this. That sounds fun. Let's go do this. And I was new, so I was like, yeah, I don't care, whatever. Let's let's be a part of something bigger.
Yeah,
And yeah,
yeah, I'm with you on that. I preach that all the time about when you're in high school, surround yourself with as many people as you can that may live differently than you. They may think differently than you, and then that really gives you the chance to broaden your own horizons. Now, after
yeah,
Madison Central, I know you originally went to Holmes Community College. So talk
yep.
about that, and then you joined the Coast Guard a little bit after that. So take us through that timeline.
Timeline up to Coast Guard. Brief.
Yeah.
All right. So I did a lot. I lived many different lives that led me here, and not necessarily not all of them really connect, but they're all my story, right? So, yeah, jumped right into community college, and that was a big push for my parents to. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a trade worker. I installed windows and doors and siding. I did all the construction stuff, right? And so I was really good at it. And like I don't know how much I need college to learn a trade when I already am good at one. And so for me, it was important just to do something. So yeah, I went to home, did all my kind of gen ed type of dynamics. Right near the end of the year, I ended up hooking up with some friends of mine, and we did some world traveling. And so I was living in South Africa for a brief period of time, doing some humanitarian work
Oh, that's right. I forgot
down
about
there.
that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, I got a little bit of experience just kind of seeing the world, right, and experiencing how other cultures live and do things, and that helped kind of bring a new perspective in how I saw people, how I interacted with people. I worked a lot there with a lot of high school students doing group events and things like that. We did brought me back to the States. Met my wife. I ended up moving back up north, where I had come down from near Boston. Um, Back into construction because hey, that's what I know, right? That was what I was good at. Um, did that for a while, about probably six years or so, and then ended up coming back down south, but to a different state down to Alabama. And my dad kind of needed some help with his business, and so we decided, hey, let's partner up and do this. So I was doing doors again down in the south. Uh, that led me to. I had a little push for my wife, but it was kind of like, hey, my whole life I'd always loved cooking, right? And I wasn't one to really push my dreams. If it didn't seem like immediately realistic, I was like, that's not gonna happen. I kind of was I downplayed anything I really wanted to do, um, because hey, this is more logical. This makes sense. I'm good at it, right? Doing construction. Um, but I had a dreamer for a wife and a visionary, and she was like, why not? Just go try it. What's it gonna hurt, right? So it was while I was in Alabama, so quite a while after, probably a good 10 years after, almost 9 years after graduating high school, I decided, all right, you know what? Let me just go back to school and I'll start pursuing a culinary. I always loved cooking. I love that world. And so while I was working for my dad's business, I was also in school doing culinary stuff, hospitality management, working on some different associate degrees there. And it was during that period of time where I had some friends kind of introduce me to, they're like, hey, Coast Guard's got some cool stuff. They were in the Coast Guard, not as cooks, but they were in there as officers or different positions. And my immediate response was, hell no, I am not cooking slops for, army lines. Like, that's not, my brain was like, no, I'm not doing that. That's not what I want to cook. That's not what I want to do. Um, and it was at that time that I got sent an article about this guy that had done the culinary competition for the military representing the Coast Guard, and he won the whole thing. And this was in 2012, and well, no, it was in 2010, and he won the whole thing. And I was looking at all the stuff he did, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of variety here. And so I started digging into it, and that's when I started realizing, like, man, you can actually do a lot of different things. And really, I just want to learn all the way different options, things that I could do. And this might be a good avenue to do it because I get my things paid for, health insurance, like everything's covered. I got to take a little decrease in pay initially, but man, if I work hard, I can get myself up. And so that's what kind of drew me into like, all right, never thought I'd be a military guy, but let's take this first step and kind of see what works. So
Yeah, and
that's
that's
my rough
the thing I
story.
was also talking about. Oh, well, it's great because I was talking about this before you came on about kids were like, well, I don't want to go to the military. If we go to war, I'm gonna have to get shot at. I'm like, there are so few military jobs that are actually combat. And the cool thing about the Coast Guard is it's not really a fighting branch of the military. It's more security, search and rescue, and a lot of just things around the continental U.S. and in Hawaii and Alaska. Then they have the coolest places where the Coast Guard bases are. You got bases you're there in Washington, D.C., you got them in Miami, Chicago, San Francisco, New Orleans. So they're really in all the big coastal cities.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, my first unit was out after I went through training and all that was out in San Diego. Um, and I was on a big cutter, big boat. That's what we call our big boats. And we patrolled up to Alaska. We went all the way down to Panama and back up.
Wow.
Like, so we do a big spread when we go on patrols. We have units that they patrol over to Japan and back. We actually do have some cutters overseas in the Middle East that do training, um, and in Bahrain and Guam, Puerto Rico. We got all kinds of. I just did a trip back in February. Helped out a cutter that was missing some cooks, and so I went down to help them out down in the Caribbean. We did a patrol down that way.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities. Really, anywhere where there's commerce, foreign commerce or trade, where there's a waterway there, you got Coast Guard's not far. We got, we're right in the middle of Louisville, Kentucky. We got a Coast Guard
Oh,
station right
wow.
there. Yeah,
Wow.
Mississippi's got all that trade, so we do we monitor the buoys and make sure the navigational system stays in place, that boats aren't running aground and doing all that. So that's one aspect. So yeah,
Yeah, and what I was explaining to the kids before you came on is about you need culinary specialists. If you're on the boat, everybody's got to eat. You got to have somebody feed
mm-hmm.
them. You're not going out and getting McDonald's when you're out in the middle of the water or wherever. So you have to feed a lot of people, and it's got to be good quality food. So you're getting great training if you want to get into any type of culinary skills in the Coast Guard.
Oh man, we have so many initiatives right now with a number of trades to lateral into the program, into the Coast Guard. Um, Culinary is a big one. There's a lot of money that they're throwing out right now for you to join. Um, but the big thing is they want they want to know that you're dedicated. And they want to know that you want to do the job that you're going to be trained to do, right? And so I did culinary stuff. I mean, Coast Guard is one of the best. They are the best in culinary out there right now. We have such a good training system set up. We get certified through the American Culinary Federation. We're the only branch that actually
Oh,
utilizes that system to once we graduate from our training schools. So culinary is there. You can electronic technicians where you're working on all the equipment for computers and working into cyber stuff. We have a new job that's called a cyber mission specialist, and they're doing. I mean, you
wow.
want to get into computer and cyber stuff and set yourself up for the future. That's an amazing job that you can jump into where you're dealing with. I mean, I'm not a cyber guy, but all the cyber computer stuff and dealing with satellites and all that. Talk about a future jobs that can come out your way. There's some amazing opportunities. Culinary is a big one because yeah, like you said, we cook. We're 3 meals, well, really 4 meals a day on the boat, especially when we're on boat, because there's always somebody on watch, and they sleep over breakfast, so we cook them their breakfast at midnight. So we
Wow.
monitor their health and nutrition, and we get to play. There's a lot of liberty, a lot of fun, a lot of creativity that goes into what we do, and it's not just cafeteria slop to the army lines. We get to do a lot, and it's
Yeah,
always kind of blown my mind at um, how much fun we get to do with food and with all with
absolutely.
creativity in that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm glad you mentioned the trades too, because we were looking on the Coast Guard website before you came on. There's so many mechanics, there's electricians, and then you mentioned the cyber, there's communications people, there's all types of trade jobs that you can get great training and you're getting paid for it. And then once you get out of the Coast Guard or whatever branch you join, you're looking at making six figures immediately after 5 or 6 years of training in the military, and you're getting veteran status as when you apply for jobs.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of you can leave there, especially the trade position. You can leave there with your journeyman apprenticeship type of level, especially depending on the different certifications you get while in. And then on top of learning a job and getting paid for it, right? You're also then building up if you decide you do want to take that further. You're they're going to pay for your schooling. They're going to give you your GI Bill to eventually maybe do something different down the road or get your master's in something or change course or just add on to what you've done. And on top of that, if you want to, and a lot of people, if you have time to, you can go to school while you're still doing this through tuition assistance. You got $4,500 a year getting thrown at you to take classes and build up your degree there. And then you have this other degree to continue that into a master's or a post grad degree if you want to down the road. There's all kinds of opportunities for that. I'd have mine. I don't really need it, and so I actually pass that to my wife. You can hand that off to a dependent like that, and so she's getting her master's off of my GI Bill just because I don't really need it. I have my degree now
Wow.
through the tuition assistance while in, and it's amazing programs out there for it.
Yeah, and before I get to the students' questions, I really did want to hit on the fact that so many kids say I want to get out of Mississippi, but unlike other branches, you know, for what I we had the Coast Guard recruiter in the fall, and he said unless you volunteer to go overseas in the Coast Guard, you're not going to be leaving the United States. So it really is
Yeah.
a chance to travel, but you're not having to worry about getting deployed all over the world. So you know, if somebody says, you know, I'm from little Madison County, Mississippi, I want to live somewhere else, this could be a great fit for them.
the the places you get to see, if you know, I had to learn how to appreciate change. I'm kind of a homebody type of guy. But I have a family, and between my kids and my wife, I mean, they love all the different experiences, and so I've grown to love that. And it's amazing all the different places you get to see, even just while traveling and moving between units. But yeah, San Diego, Seattle to Midwest, down in Texas and Corpus Christi. You got out in the west, on the East Coast with Charleston, and there's all kinds of different environments and places you get to go and experience for a couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years maybe at the most, and then you can move onward. And there, so in that though too, we do have a lot of places that have really good, we call it geographical stability, right? So like DC is one of those where you can get to this place. You don't necessarily have to stay here, but there are also lots of opportunities to advance in rank and to do different types of jobs around your field while not moving. I've been here for coming up on 8 years. That's not normal, and
Wow.
I'm coming up on 8 years, but I still have a couple of years of this job that I'm in now. It's a long time to have geographical stability that I got to choose, right? I got to choose to do that. And then when after this one, you know, we're ready to try something new and maybe go back out west or something. But you know, it's not exactly choice, but it's you get to at least give them the hey, these are the places I would really love to go, and they really do their best to get you there. So yeah.
Yeah, and I also know, you know, for people that say I want to own my own restaurant, the Coast Guard or any other branch would be a great place to get that training. Because I know right now, if you really wanted to, and when your service is up, you could open a restaurant without any a big learning curve.
Oh, I've met so many people. In fact, out when I was out in San Diego, we went to Legoland up there, right north of San Diego there, and just so happened to run into the guy that ran all of the food establishments inside the local places. So if you know, if you go to Disney or any theme park, they have all the restaurants, right? Well, they have like one individual that manages like all of them, right? And this guy was at ex-Coast. He came out. He had finished his degree while he was in. He knows food. He knows management. You're learning all that stuff. He knows budgetary and paperwork, and got this amazing job where he gets to manage all these restaurants in one spot and really elevate what they do because of the training we receive. So, oh, there's so many opportunities. I just got to work back. It was back about 4 or 5 years ago. Was able to do some volunteer opportunities with Robert Irvin, doing the Restaurant Possible, you know, the Restaurant Possible guy.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
he has so many opportunities for cooks leaving. He loves hiring military people to manage his restaurants. There's so many little opportunities that you may have the opportunity to connect with just because of one being military and two just the surroundings that people want to use us. You know, so
That's awesome. Well, I do have some questions from the students. I'll get as many of these as I can. These are all
yeah,
ninth
come
grade.
on.
This first one is Christian McGee. He's one of our football players and one of our power lifters here at Velma Jackson. And he asked, when you joined the Coast Guard, did you know you wanted to cook or did you want to do something else?
So for me, I joined to cook. That was something I really wanted to do. Now, keep in mind, I was also 29, so I'd had a whole life of experience before me, and I kind of, at that point, I knew what I wanted to do. At that point, I was like, no, I want to go in this, and I want to cook, and I want to be around and be able to mentor and guide people. Like those are the two things I really wanted to do. And I had so many people kind of question, like, hey, you sure you want to cook? Like, it's hard work. It's not an easy job. You ask anyone in a restaurant field, like it's a lot of work. You got to love what you do, right? And so, yes, I did join to cook, and a lot of people do come in with like a direction. They know what they want to do, but we have so many opportunities when you enter in. If you come in, most people come in at 18, 19, 20 years old. They're not sure yet, right? And so they come in. There are avenues where there's some really good bonus money to have a direction if you want to choose something. but we also have capability to shift over to a different job. Once you're if you know it's not super easy, but you can do that if it's like, hey, I actually don't really like this. I'm not good at it, or I'm stressed out. I don't want to do that thing. And there are programs to kind of shift over to a different job. But even as a cook, I do so many different things. When I'm on cutters, you're helping with boarding teams. So you're going on the boats and you're going over and you're doing inspections, you're doing drug interdictions, you're helping do other collateral missions while being a cook. So even in your job that you choose, there are so many different collaterals that, like, so as a cook right now, I do stress resiliency training. I actually a whole crew. I'm actually shifted over to Baltimore now, so I'm right in between DC and Baltimore, and I do manage the whole crew over there and oversee their well-being. I'm mentoring and guiding, and I'm taking a slight break from the cooking, but I still get to do both. I was just at the Capitol building helping with an event uh, for our State of the Coast Guard to Congress. We did a whole reception spread, and
Oh,
so there's so many different opportunities to get to do, and that's an awesome part of being the Coast Guard is that you can choose a job and go in and say, yeah, this is what I want, or you can go in and say, yeah, I actually don't know what I want to do, and you can get assigned to a unit. And there's so many mentors and leaders out there that are like, hey, helping you out. You can try this, try that, but your trail. So
yeah.
yeah.
If you don't know what you want to do, they can find something for you to do.
Oh yeah. Hey, and I won't sugarcoat everything. I mean, there is still grunt work. I mean, you're sanding rust off cutters and painting and doing, it's work. You're going to do work, but it's all in a direction towards something bigger that's going to give you that training. Once you kind of figure out what path you want to go and you get on that list and you go, hey,
Absolutely.
I want to be a medical field. I want to be a doctor. I'm going to go in the health services technician, and I'm gonna learn how to be an EMT and learn how to do all this medical stuff. Hey, no, I want to go here in this direction. And I mean, you can be a trained diver. I mean, and go down and fix all of the stuff under the oil rig. You can. There's so many different avenues you can take once you kind of get in and figure it out. You don't have to have a path right from the beginning if he's not sure. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I like this question. This is Derek Mitchell. He's got two
Hey,
questions.
Derek.
He asked, was it a big cultural change moving from Canada? And when you cook, are you focusing more on quality, or does it taste like jail food?
Always quality, my man. Always quality. No, you know, as cooking is grueling, right? And so there are definitely folks out there that get tired. They get tired of what they're doing. Really, in any job, you start taking shortcuts. You start not caring as much. And it's my job as a leader now, having advanced. So I'm a E7. I'm a chief now. So my job now is a little less on the hands-on cooking and more on the empowering, teaching, manage. Getting the crew, keeping them interested in what they're doing, because that's where, I mean, to be honest, they say like fat is flavor, and that's true. Whatever flavors you can add to your food and just elevate that is amazing. But if you don't care, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, like there's something from the soul, especially with food, that comes out. And I know in the South, you guys know what I'm talking about. The so absolutely, this is not your jail food, which is why I wasn't sure about joining in the first place. I'm like, everything I see about it, I'm like, I don't slop on a platter. Um, but oh man, especially with the Coast Guard. Now, the other branches do have amazing opportunities, and I will not downplay them. And they do have incredible food programs. They do things a little differently, where you don't cook from the beginning. I think Navy's like us, but the rest are you have a different job, and then you can collateral volunteer to or get assigned to cook for 3 months, and they teach you some things. So and you can elevate yourself that way. So cooking isn't necessarily a specific job in some of the other branches. However, they have some amazing chefs. Though they're incredible, especially in the DC area. Um, so Canada, I anything's a culture change, right? I was in Canada. I did spend some time in New York before I moved down south, and I mean naturally, it's always a culture shock. Since being in, I've gotten experience, like I said, in California, couple places in California and Louisiana. Now I'm up here in DC area, and even DC is very different than New York. I mean, everywhere you go, you're going to hit like this learning curve of like culture crashes, right? Like, what? Wow, there's a melting pot here. I got to figure out where I fit, right? So, yeah, it's always a learning curve.
Yeah, and you mentioned about the cooking. Something that I think people fail to realize when you are having to feed people that are have our national security at stake, you cannot risk them getting sick. You cannot risk them having some sort of allergic reaction because care was not taken on the food service. So that is a very, very important job, especially
Mm-hmm.
in Coast Guard and Navy when you're out on the boat. You're not just you can't just go to the doctor. Everything has to be very carefully prepared.
Oh yeah. So we get ServSafe certified, which is pretty standard across
Oh
any
yeah.
restaurant industry.
Yep.
And like I said, we have the American Culinary Federation. So our guys leave their training school as I think they leave with a chef de cuisine certification, but you can easily
Wow.
advance that to a sous chef certification. And then the next one is the CEC, which is the culinary executive chef. And so you are already leaving your initial training with pretty hefty degree or a certification that you take with you that you can leave the Coast Guard with, right? That stays with you. I think you have to refresh it every few years, but it's every 5 years maybe. But it's a quick exam. It's like, hey, I know all this stuff. The but the sanitation side of it, and that's one reason why we have our own training because it is so important. Because we're out, the only people that can rescue us that we can't call the Coast Guard to help us. We are the callers. We're the responders. So we got to fight our own fires. We got to take care of flooding. We got to make sure that this food, that everything is kept well, that is checked, temperature controlled, all the control points. It's our job to make sure everything is up to par. The food quality is good, and so flavor and food quality and yeah, not letting people get sick. I mean, all that stuff really plays strong. And so we hold everyone's morale because food is morale, especially when that's all you have to do sometimes. Food is morale, and then it also is health. I mean, we're not feeding you well. You're not going to be able to do your job well. So we hold a lot.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something I want to hit on real quick is that you talked about y'all fight your own fires. If you're an adrenaline junkie and you like that kind of stuff, the Coast Guard can definitely find a place for you because all the rescues and having to get in the middle of all these disasters and things. If you like that kind of stuff, the Coast Guard can definitely find a place for you.
Oh yeah, no, and like I said, even if you're doing your own different job, you all still partake in something else. So when I was on a smaller boat, that's only 12 of us on one of our smaller vessels, and when there's a fire, every man's got to jump in, right? So we would
That's
run. We
awesome.
never had one, but we'd run drills, and I got pictures of me finishing up lunch while also doing the navigational inspection and stuff in my fire gear, and you go to fire school, you learn the basics, and there's some fun stuff you learn, all the different health things, and yeah.
That's pretty awesome. All right, I've got two more. This is Caden Williams, one of our football players and
Hey, Caden,
one of our power lifters here. And he asked, "Did you ever feel like you made the wrong decision joining?"
ask that one more time. It glitched briefly.
Um, he asked, "Did you ever feel like you made the wrong decision joining?"
Ooh, I did not. I'm also very calculated I'm not one that just kind of jumps in with before I kind of know or have tested the waters or at least researched a lot. So I felt really good coming in. There are people that do, buyer's remorse, right? You have a little regret or you're like, this really isn't for me. And I would tell people like, we live in the moment, right? We live now. Right now, it's the present. This is what we have, right? Our experiences now, whether they're positive and we're like, yeah, this is a great direction, or they're not, or they're maybe this is uncomfortable. I don't like this. Those are all just experiences, and then we get to choose what to do with those. I personally don't believe that there's anything you can choose in life and a direction in life that is that you are really trapped in. I feel very strongly that yes, there's outside sources that affect that. Yes, there are things that it might take you a little longer to steer directions and to change course. You might not be in an environment that has everything immediately there for you, but they are there. And so for me, I look at it and go, all right, to one, no, I don't regret it. But the people I know that do or have, there are so many leaders, especially in the Coast Guard, but really everywhere. I mean, you got this guy right here, and teaching that. I guarantee you, he will be available to you for the rest of your lives. You have people in your life that you can contact, navigate. Say, hey, I don't know what happened. I'm going this way, and I don't want to go this way, and steer course. I don't necessarily believe as much in regret because that doesn't help anybody. There is no regrets. There's just experiences in the moment. So when you make a choice, you're not necessarily stuck to it, but you get that experience, and then the next step is just another experience, even if it's a different direction. So it's not that, oh man, if I had only done this, I would have made my path easier. I would have. Well, no, because you got other experiences along the way that you never would have had that were also a
Absolutely.
part of your story. So yeah, going backwards isn't helpful. It's not something that's gonna. It's helpful in learning, kind of looking back and seeing where you came from and being like, all right, yeah, I like where I'm going and this is a good path, but keep yourself in the moment, not so much in the future where you're never enjoying the moment. It's really important to highlight that the present right now. So that's what I've always done. So long answer to no, I don't regret it.
All right, I just got one more. This is Precious Blackman, member of our basketball team and track team here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, what are some good tips for somebody that wanted to join the military, especially the Coast Guard?
Oh man. So especially where you're at now, it's going to be the answer you probably aren't going to like, but you really want to have really good math, science, like like focus on some of your subjects that will help you in the future, especially math, science, and I would even push language art. We have people that have no idea how to just type a quick memo that makes sense with some sentences and stuff. So like focus. There is really good educational stuff you can focus on, not just for. So I'm an enlisted Coast Guard. We're the kind of the grunt. We do a lot of the manual work, but there's a whole officer round two where they
Yeah.
go to the academy or they go through officer candidate school, and they're the leaders, right? They're the ones that run everything, and so we follow their orders, we salute them, we do whatever we need to do, and there's so many opportunities on that round too, where really even like the best grades, but like having a full, well-rounded education is going to be huge to help you in any branch, but especially Coast Guard and these ones that have a little more leaning towards technology or engineering. There's a
Yeah.
lot that goes into that, and so I would. And don't worry about knowing everything. You don't need to. You're not gonna know your future. So enjoy now. Do well in the present. Soak in all of your educational stuff that you can. Experience what you can now. Take your steps as you go, and then as you see yourself growing, you'll start to see a path forward. And so whether it's Coast Guard or whether it's another military branch or career field, things will start to open up for you. And even then, you're never stuck, right? There's always other paths, there's always other avenues, there's always other options for you. And so this is awesome. I love that you guys do this at your age now. Like Greg said, I wish we had this, but I think the
Nobody,
closest we have is
and they
maybe
think we're
this
joking,
show, and
and they think we're joking. Even us being Madison Central alums, nobody took the time to go over this with us. Nobody taught us about all the options we had. So what we really want to do is just literally let these kids know it's not just one or the other. There are so many different ways that they can, once they graduate from high school, that they can take their life. It doesn't have to be because what your parents did or what you've seen or what society thinks you have to do. There are so many great opportunities that we never knew about.
yeah, absolutely,
Now,
absolutely.
we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us. I can't believe it's been this long since we talked, but it's just so great that
I know,
through
man.
technology now you're able to join us. But before we go, you said yourself when you graduated from high school, you didn't know what you wanted to do. So for these kids that maybe even though they're in ninth grade and they're kind of still really unsure of
Mm.
the path they want to take, whether it be college or community college or straight to the military, why should they really consider becoming a part of the military? Because it's great opportunities.
Is that the question is why?
Yeah.
Um, I similar it's similar to choice to do community college first, right? I wasn't sure what degree I wanted to focus on, and I didn't want to, I didn't have scholarships in front of me. I didn't have parents that could pay my way. I had to figure out, okay, they were going to help for sure, but like I was going to have to figure it out as I move along. I can't go to a big university and blow, $300,000 on, over 4 years of school. Like I need to, that's probably small potatoes at this point. I need to kind of figure things out. So I was to kind of at least get the basics done. Well, military is a little bit similar in that you don't have to know what you want to do because in the military, especially in the Coast Guard, there are so many options and opportunities. And so you can use that to step into it. One, immediately have a steady check. You got housing covered, you got health insurance covered, you got all of these benefits. You have savings plans where they're matching your investments as you put money aside, that they come in and put money. Like there's so many things for your future while you're not sure. And then you can figure it out from that bottom level while you're doing just manual work, you're just doing regular stuff. And you're learning kind of, okay, yeah, I kind of like this direction, or I like this direction. Or you might even learn, I don't know, actually, I don't really care for this. Well, guess what? You only signed up for 4 years of your life. It's not, you're not going to be grandpa and be like, well, where did my life go? Right. And so there you go. You shift course and you have your college paid for now. You don't have to worry about that. And now you can go to that big university and be like, all right, now I get to do what I really want to do. And the military is going to pay for it. So you're never stuck joining the Coast Guard or the military from the bottom level, even if you don't know what you're doing. There's so many opportunities, even if you don't stay in long. So yeah, I always recommend, like, hey, if you're not sure, give it a go. You're not gonna be a Marine and dropped off in Iraq, and like there's some safety nets here, that you
Yeah.
can jump into. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you so much for joining us. Judah Clark, all the way from Maryland, Coast Guard, culinary specialist. Thank you for joining us today, my man.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
All right. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. See ya.